Kenneth Hernandez writes, love the show. You guys are awesome and inspiring. With the box office failure of Prince of Persia, John Carter, and The Lone Ranger, should Disney stop trying to make live action films and just stay with the animated studio? Or should they have a smaller budget for their live action films? What are your thoughts?
I think generally speaking, my opinion, I'm well represented in saying for a very long time, Hollywood needs to start scaling back on how much money they spend on movies. I mean, they're spending too much. It's now, nobody blinks an eye now when a film spends $200 million. It's getting out of hand. They need to find a way to control the costs of making these films. But that being said, out of the way, John Carter, while financially a flop for Disney, I thought was a wonderful sci-fi film. It's the first sci-fi movie I think you and I both said the same, Rose. It was the first sci-fi film that I saw in a long time that I felt like real sci-fi. This was great sci-fi. Prince of Persia, not so much. Lone Ranger, not so much. But before we get ahead of ourselves and saying, oh my goodness, the live action movies from Disney just are not making any money. There's this little movie you might have heard of called The Avengers. That apparently did pretty well. There was this other little live-action film called Iron Man 3 and Iron Man 2 that did pretty well. They've got this other, it's a little bit more of an obscure title, but it's called Star Wars. You might have heard of it. It's coming out in 2015. Disney is doing just fine. Don't worry about Disney. Captain America, Thor, all these. Disney is doing just fine. My bigger concern would be is if they, we're always putting out crap movies. Yeah. Like so we talk about John Carter. Hey, yeah, it flopped. It didn't make the money it needed to make, but it was a great movie. And as long as they continue to make great movies, they will be fine. The upcoming Marvel films will make them lots of money. Star Wars is going to make them ridiculous amounts of UN purchasing money. That's just the way it is. So don't worry about Disney. They'll be fine.
If they acquire Star Trek, they pretty much own the world.
Yeah.
So I think they're doing just fine. Yeah, I agree. We're on the same page with John Carter. I really loved that movie. The problem was with the marketing campaign. You don't like, you're not enticed by two giant white apes chasing you. And it was
called John Carter.
It was called John Carter. The first poster I saw for him, just standing like this, like a badass, was better. But then they changed direction, and that's what happens when with pacing and all that sometimes. So I really did think the movie was great, and I thought Taylor Kitsch did a really solid job.
Taylor Kitsch. I know we're going off a rabbit trail. Yeah. Taylor Kitsch, I put him and Armie Hammer kind of in the same category. They're both young, really good actors who have just landed in some really battleship type movies. Oh God. And they're getting blamed for it. Keep giving Armie Hammer and Taylor Kitsch a chance.
If you're in a movie with Rihanna, it's done. It is done.
Your battleship is definitely sinking.
It's sinking. But yeah, no, I definitely thought John Carter, and it still made a good amount of money is the thing. It didn't make a lot of money on the huge budget, but it still made a lot of money. So I do think Disney is fine. But movies like The Lone Ranger and Prince of Persia, we kind of know what to expect. They don't always translate that well. But John Carter was a solid film that deserved more love than it got. So. And their slate's pretty incredible coming up. So I have all the faith in Disney and what they do right.
Yeah, and Avengers by itself will pay for 5 Lone Rangers. Yeah. So they're fine. They're fine.
If you like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. And don't forget to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free, and we bring you all the latest movie news as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk Show. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, where you can find out about all the latest prizes, giveaways, and special contests.